When you're choosing a site for a food premises, you must take into account the following things. First of all, services, electricity, gas, water supply, effluent disposal, waste disposal, roads and transport. Also, problems to be avoided include flooding, chemicals, odour, dust and pests. Also, regard should be had to the premises in the neighbourhood so as not to cause nuisance from things like noise, odour, traffic, etc. Under Regulation EC 852/2004, the layout, design, construction and size of food premises shall, first of all, permit adequate cleaning and/or disinfection, minimise airborne contamination and provide adequate space. Secondly, prevent accumulations of dirt, condensation or mould growth. Materials must be non-toxic and non-flaking. 3. Permit good hygiene practices and prevent cross-contamination, especially from pests. And 4. Provide suitable temperature conditions for food handling and storage, including monitoring and recording. General principles of design include segregation of clean and dirty processes, where possible post-cook and pre-cook separation, and a deboxing area. Next, continuous workflow or linear workflow. Distances travelled by raw materials, utensils, containers, waste material, packaging material and staff should be minimised. Personal hygiene facilities should be appropriate to each process area, and washing and disinfection facilities positioned where appropriate. Temperature control facilities provided and positioned where appropriate, and readily cleansable surfaces suitable for disinfection when necessary. Further principles of design include pest precautions, where access and harbourage must be denied. Yards and roads must be well surfaced, adequate drainage and refuse storage. Staff welfare facilities, dependent on the number of staff. Good lighting, which must be suitable and sufficient, and suitable ventilation, mechanical where required. Again, under Regulation EC 852/2004, suitable and sufficient natural or mechanical ventilation is required. Mechanical airflow must not be from a contaminated or dirty area to a clean area. Filters and other parts requiring cleaning must be readily accessible. Adequate natural and/or artificial lighting must be provided. Adequate drainage facilities which do not expose food to contamination must be provided. There must be an adequate supply of potable water. Ice used in food and drink must be made from potable water. And I've used this phrase before. Potable water is water, either bottled water or water from the main supply which has been chlorinated and is safe to drink. It doesn't include water that's been held in storage tanks, such as your warm water supply. So the design of food premises includes such areas as internal finishes, which must be non-toxic, durable, easy to clean and maintain. All surfaces must be maintained in sound condition. Ceilings should be washable, non-flaking, smooth, easy to clean, resist condensation, light-coloured, fire-resistant, coved. Suspended ceilings are an advantage. Walls should be smooth, impervious, non-flaking, durable, light-coloured, coved. Avoid voids and internal cavities which could harbour pests. Make sure the walls are easy to clean and disinfect, and protect as necessary, for example the corners of the walls, perhaps with some metal strips. Lighting should be suitable and sufficient. 150 lux in storerooms and 500 lux in preparation areas, and diffusers are recommended to prevent any glass from breakage of fluorescent lights coming into contact with the preparation of food. Ventilation should be suitable and sufficient, temperature below 25 degrees Celsius. There should be an adequate number of air changes to remove odours, condensation, etc. And there should be a flow from clean to dirty areas. Doors and windows, there should be self-closing doors, handles to allow disinfection, Pest-proofed and fly screens is necessary, especially on openable windows, and avoid glare, windows preferably north facing. With services, pipes should allow access for cleaning or be concealed, or flexible where feasible. The use of waterproof sockets should be considered. There must be an adequate supply of potable fresh water and an external water supply. There should be adequate drainage, trapped gullies, and they should be pest-proofed. Also, the use of grease traps should be considered, but you must ensure there's a flow from clean to dirty. Although in recent times grease traps tend to be frowned upon, and what companies tend to do now is to use biological grease dissolvers, i.e. bacteria and other little organisms that actually feed off the fat and reduce it into things like carbon dioxide and water and other harmless substances, rather than have grease traps, which could attract pests like rodents onto the property. Washing facilities. Again, under Regulation EC 852/2004, an adequate number of accessible wash-hand basins and flush lavatories must be provided. Lavatories must not lead directly into food rooms and must have adequate natural or mechanical ventilation. Wash-hand basins must be provided with hot and cold running water, materials for cleaning hands, and hygienic drying. Separate food washing facilities must be provided when necessary. Adequate changing facilities must be provided for personnel. So adequate facilities suitably sited must be provided for hand washing for personal hygiene reasons, and these must be easily accessible, adjacent to entrance, separate in clean and dirty areas, near sanitary accommodation. Non-hand operable taps are recommended. Food washing, separate to wash-up sinks where practical, may have cold water only. Equipment washing, cleaning and disinfection. You must provide adequate facilities, 2 sinks are preferable to 1, and the use of flexible surfaces to sinks, so that these surfaces can be removed, the sinks can be moved outwards for ease of cleaning. Cloakrooms and lockers should be adequate for outdoor clothing. 2 compartments are recommended, one for own clothing, external clothing, and one for work clothing. Sanitary conveniences. There should be adequate facilities for the number of people working in the area. They should be well lit, well ventilated, no direct communication with food room, and adjacent hand washing facilities. Waste disposal. Food waste and other refuse must not be allowed to accumulate in food rooms. It must be deposited in appropriate containers which must, where necessary, be easy to clean and disinfect. Adequate provision must be made for the removal and storage of waste. Refuse stores must be kept clean and pest-proof. Stores must be designed so as not to contaminate food, water, equipment or premises. And also drainage should be suitable. So with internal bins, internal containers, there shouldn't be any accumulations outside the main bin. They should be cleanable and disinfectable and emptied frequently. There shouldn't be any accumulations outside the external bins or containers. In other words, any black bags or boxes must be placed inside the main bin. If you leave black bags outside, that could attract pests. Birds could come along, peck at the packs, and then along come rodents and then cause an even bigger problem. The bin itself should be held on an impervious base such as concrete or tarmac and some solid surface. If you leave the bin on grass or near vegetation or on soil, then pests will have somewhere to hide. Pests do not like open areas, so if you've got an open area such as concrete or tarmac, they won't come close to the bins. They should be cleanable and disinfectable. The disinfection will remove the bacteria, the spoilage bacteria that cause the odours which attract pests. They should have tightly fitting lids and emptied regularly. This is an example of the design of a kitchen. It's significantly influenced by the purpose for which it will be used. For the size required, you need to consider such things as the type of operation and frequency of deliveries, the number of meals being prepared, whether it's breakfast, lunch and dinner, number of sittings at each meal, the provision of additional external catering, for example banquets, the state of raw materials, ready-prepared vegetables, cooked ham, pastries, gâteaux, etc., the extent of menu, whether it's table d'hôte or a la carte, whether it's prepared in advance or in the evening, the equipment used, the operating system, for example traditional cookery, microwave or cook chill, the extent of ancillary functions, for example dishwashing, or the use of disposable cutlery and crockery, etc., the use of ready prepared chilled or frozen, the maximum output, for example you are going to get peak areas at perhaps holiday periods, Christmas time, etc. The design and layout characteristics, workflow from deliveries, storage, preparation, cooking, assembly, hot holding to service. So you need to look at a linear workflow from the deliveries right through to service. Consider cleaning of production equipment and services of the crockery and cutlery. Minimise distance staff need to walk, especially in relation to safe procedures. Make the safest way the quickest way. Areas allocated according to compatibility. Ensure good working conditions, effective lighting and ventilation, adequate accessible wash-hand basins and staff changing facilities. Ensure compliance with food and health and safety legislation. Adequate space for contingency in the event of essential equipment breakdown. You may require a spare fridge or freezer or oven, etc. Mobile equipment, consider connections and cleaning. Provision of services, for example gas, electricity, water and drainage, and also the use of standard size equipment. The main premise for operating a linear or continuous workflow is to avoid cross-contamination, and this can be done by separating raw and cooked and separating dirty and clean. Regulation EC 852/2004 requires that food contact equipment and fittings are kept clean, disinfected at a frequency to avoid any risk of contamination, constructed to minimize the risk of contamination, to enable thorough cleaning and disinfection, can be disinfected when necessary, and installed so equipment and surrounding areas can be clean. In addition, the following is recommended. They should be easy to clean, smooth, movable to facilitate cleaning, durable, long-lasting, lacking crevices, ridges, projections and sharp edges, and no recesses where food and other debris could accumulate, non-toxic, non-tainting, non-porous or impervious, non-flaking, corrosion resistant, suitable for the intended use and regularly maintained. And this is the recommended colour coding system we use in the UK. Colour coding was brought in many years ago now as a way of preventing cross-contamination. And what you do, you use a separate colour for a separate process. You use red for raw meat. So in other words, you would prepare raw meat with a red chopping board and a red handle knife and fork. You would use yellow for high risk or cooked food, blue for raw fish, green for salad items and fruit, white for dairy products such as cheese and also for sandwiches, and brown for root and raw vegetables. Okay, that's the end of lecture 9. Let's have a look at the key points which we covered during that lecture. We looked at the site selection and looked at good design and materials are essential, segregation of clean and dirty, raw and high risk. We look at a linear or continuous workflow which will prevent cross-contamination. We looked at suitable washing and disinfection facilities, the use of potable drinking water, ensuring the premises is well lit and ventilated, the use of suitable drainage and good waste management procedures, equipment must be kept clean and in good condition, and the use of colour coding where appropriate.